long time coming, longer than you know, that we were preparing to do this very thing. And that is So Chef. It's a The Bear recap podcast that me and my homeboy Chalfie, hey Chalfie,
Hey, hey.
have plans to do here going into the new season of The Bear, which comes out at the end of June. All episodes drop all at once, but I don't think we're going to be trying to eat them like that, but options.
Yes.
Consider this our pilot episode. It'll sound like this first time, may not sound like this the next time. We might tweak or change anything in the meantime, but we're gonna talk to y'all about The Bear because we and Chalfie both bang hard with that show. Love that show. It is second only to Ted Lasso in the shows. I'm like, yo, I watch this as comfort, you know what I'm saying? And I watch tons of other people watch it and recap it as well. So I'm very excited to sit and just rap about this show and things I fuck with about it and things my man's fuck with it about it. So here we are discussing. Also, we cuss a lot. Not a lot, but we do curse. So if you don't get down with that, my apologies. You can see yourself out. No worries. No disrespect. But if you get down to get down and think, I want to hear what these two brown folk got to say about a show that they bang with, then here you go. What you got better than that there? Here we are.
Exactly. Now this will actually be my third run through of watching The Bear. So just this recap really sets me up nicely, but each time I've gone through the show just has always been something new, different perspective or a greater understanding. But even recapping the episode, as for the listeners, as we go through, we're going to really approach this through a fresh pair of eyes. So we won't be doing a lot of assumptive statements like you have watched it. This will really just be like if we were trying to tell a friend, man, you really got to watch this show. Like, listen, this show is good because of these reasons. Watch them.
I picked up on something today that I had missed in my multiple watches of this show. So it's gonna be a good time.
All right.
Oh, so here, let me set you off. The Bear is created by Christopher Storer. I went and looked up his catalog, and Christopher Storer is just a writer. He's been writing for a long time, and he finally struck it with this one, man. He struck gold with this bad boy, and I absolutely love it. He directed these first two episodes. We're also going to do probably like 2 episodes per episode of this show, unless it's a longer episode that will require a little more time with it. So you're gonna get both episodes 1 and 2 this week, and following out. That's how it should roll out. Just give you that heads up. But this is an FX/Hulu original series, and episode 1 is System, which was again written and directed by one Christopher Storer, and I have a list of characters here, but I don't know if you want me to get all into that. But I got them written down here if you need to know.
I say list them just for the first go around for anyone who's just jumping into this new season, not really familiar, and then this way you get to know the names along the way.
Good stuff. I actually did not write everybody down, but I did pretty much write everybody down. So yeah, Carmi Berzado, Sydney Adamu, Richie Jeramovich, Tina. Cousin, your life, Tina, Marcus, Gary, Sweeps, Woods, Ibrahim, Natalie, Sugar, Berzado, and Carmi's best friend, Neil Fack, played by Maddie Matheson, who you probably know from YouTube and other stuff. He's also producer on the show, so he put in on this.
And the odd part, too, is that he is an actual chef, not playing a chef.
Correct. Which I think is the best part. He just plays a handyman.
Yeah, who wants to work in the kitchen badly? But we'll get into Fact later. I love him so much.
For sure. This first episode is where we meet all these people for the first time, and basically what it is Carmi has come home to take over his family restaurant, and we find out that's because his brother who ran the restaurant has died. And so basically he has inherited this restaurant and is on the takeover, but also like, man, I would like to make this place better because Carmen, as it turns out, is a Michelin-starred sous chef who has worked literally all around the world. We'll figure that out as time goes on, but definitely you'll find out. I think in this episode, because they open up his book of accolades on this episode.
Yeah,
and so you find out that he's not just a starred chef. He's a James Beard nominated, maybe he won. I don't know if I think he says he was nominated. I don't know if he won. He is the man who probably should not be working in a Chicago, sliced beef sandwich. The restaurant they work in is, of course, the original beef of Chicagoland, which is the restaurant his brother owned.
Mm. And
And
just to kind of set the stage in this environment too, this is not a fancy restaurant. This is
not
not
even,
a hipster version of something like else. This is that type of place where like maybe you and like your granddad went for years and his granddad took him, and it's the old shop around the corner, and you can kind of see the local environment is kind of changing,
yeah.
but they're still like that local staple. Like this is where you go to get that greasy sandwich. Like you know you're gonna feel it later, but when you're eating it, it's bliss. It's nostalgia. It's all those things that's just like I've been eating this. When you say I've been eating this sandwich for 35 years, you have. Like so it really kind of gets that feel.
Yeah. And this is, I don't know if you, you, the listener, I don't know if you've been to Chicago, maybe not, but they do a thing. You know how people have sandwiches all around the country, but their sandwich of note in Chicago is the sliced beef sandwich, and they take the whole damn sandwich and then dip that in a jus, in a jus. I can't call it nothing else. That's the actual name. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a sauce, and they dip the whole sandwich in there, so you get a nice, a real wet beef sandwich. And they go hard for those who enjoy it. Not a meat man. I'm not a red meat man myself, but I get it. I can see why people
Mhm.
get down with it. So this is no Philly cheesesteak. This is no chopped cheese. This is no, whatever. It's very specific to Chicagoland, the Chicagoland area
Yeah,
of
because
the
what do they
country. And
call it in
so
there too? Is it an Italian beef? Like they
Italian
throw
beef.
peppers on there and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And there's a
Majority.
few items that have on there, but it really is primarily about this sandwich.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's popping in this restaurant.
Hmm.
And I love it. And so Carmi wanting better for this restaurant, a restaurant that as we go on, we'll find out he really always wanted to be a part of, brings in a stage. And if you're fancy, what I'm saying, basically that is someone who is coming to basically intern, if you will,
Hmm.
in the restaurant lingo, coming to intern
Uh,
with him.
let's put a pause real quick because I think what the bear does really well is the opening scene. We'll talk
Yeah,
about the of this episode and in second episode. The opening scene is this whole episode is like a music video, but if you grew up like in the 80s and 90s, the way it's told, it's like the music comes in, the music comes out. It's almost like a mini movie in a sense.
set
But
you
the,
up. I actually wanted to find out who shot these too. I actually want to get that information. Thanks, man. That's a good reminder that I want to know who was on
because it reminds me of
director of
like
photography.
just to show my age, I remember seeing like Love is a Battlefield. I think it's the Pat Benatar song. And it's like
Yes,
this music plays, then it fades, and she's fighting with her family, and she gets on the bus and she leaves, and the music comes back in. It's like that's how this episode plays, plus it's gritty. But in the opening scene, you see Carmi approaching a cage, and in the cage is a bear. And I kind of just wanted to discuss a little bit of the symbolism of the bear too, because one, surface value, the show's called The Bear. Duh, here's a bear. But then I think as you really sit on it, he's taking on a bear of running this restaurant and running the people. But then even past that, it's like a bear is like when you think of a bear, it's strong, it's
yeah,
it's big, it's massive. And but you also got the teddy bear aspect too. They're cute. They're furry. They're cuddly. But don't fucking forget, it will end your life real fast. Like it will put you in some trauma immediately. And so kind of thinking about the symbolism of this, what they're really trying to put into play here is like you can kind of dissect that moment. And as you go through the series and watch through, that moment really sets a tone where you can refer back to that and be like, is that what the bear meant? Is that what the
ah,
bear meant? Is
yeah,
that what the bear meant? Like each time you can keep tapping back for different reasons. So that sort of aspect, like really, I sat on it. But even the first, like I said, this is my third watch through, but even the first time I watched it, I was like, mm, okay,
mm.
what's the point
That,
of the bear?
it's also that's the bridge that we get referred to later on for some other things. You had to
Mhm.
catch up with them. I'll let you know when we get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
The cinematographer for this show, Adam Newport Barrett. What does he do, Chaffee? What is he known for?
What is it? Music
Tons of music
videos?
videos, absolutely grips of them.
See?
But also, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, shot a couple episodes of Euphoria. So shot Kendrick Lamar, Count Me Out, Miley Cyrus, River, Green Day, The American Dream Is Killing Me, Kendrick
Mhm.
Lamar, N95, shoots a lot of Shawn Mendes.
See, this makes
So,
sense because it all of those have a commonality of a little bit of like a gritty tone to
mm-hmm,
them, aggressive cuts, but
yeah,
it also fits because like the way that this is shot is very like it's quick sweeps. It's like it's fast, but this, what they really should have named this episode was, hey, would you like some anxiety? Because because that's what this episode gives the viewer is like, oh fuck.
so I had heard about the bear for probably a good year plus before I actually was like, okay, fine. Same thing happened to me with Ted Lasso. I'd heard
Oh,
about it,
yeah.
and people were talking about it, and I was like, I don't want to watch because I see, the guy who plays Carmi, Jeremy Allen White, and I know he's from a show called what is that called? Shameless. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm worried that this is gonna be I didn't like Shameless. It was one of the shows that bothered me because all people were so bad at it, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh my god, it's gonna be another Shameless style show. And as it turns out, no, it was not. And so I was like, oh, it was such a relief to watch that first episode for me, but also like you said, anxiety inducing because everything about this show is so up close and tight in a restaurant and in a
Mhm.
kitchen, and so yes, it does make you anxious.
It creates the tension of the environment. Like if you've ever worked in a kitchen or in that type of
Yeah.
pressure cooker situation, visually it's represented. It's when you bring up Shameless as well, because it's one of those shows like when I watch it, I really enjoy it. But
Mhm.
it's something about it doesn't keep me. Like I don't know. There's just something a little amateurish to it that I'm like, it doesn't connect. Um, I wish maybe the episodes were just like 30 minutes. I think they're like a full 45 hour. Then maybe I would have
Yeah.
digested it a little bit better. But I've rewatched that multiple times and maybe only get to like episode five. And what is it, the like seven seasons or more?
So like yeah, it's like a ton of, and like I said,
Yeah.
I Vanessa would watch it, and I would just like sit and I try to absorb it. I'm like, these are terrible people.
Yes.
They're not good people. They're terrible people who stay doing terrible shit, trying to get out of a terrible place.
Yeah.
And it's like that. I did not want that for a show. I was not going. I knew,
Yeah.
and then my worry was that was what the bear was going to be. Turns out nothing like that.
No.
I think they real loose the word comedy for this show. It do have some funny moments. Really,
Yes.
you'll laugh a lot, but I don't know if it's. I don't know. Comedy seems loose, real loose.
Yeah. Yeah. The comedy in this is it's not jokey. It,
Yeah.
you know, if anything, it would be the whereas you mentioned Ted Lasso earlier. Ted Lasso is light. It's not jokey funny, but it's funny in the way the lines are delivered. This would be the dark version of that, but in the same fashion.
I promise you, if you get down with Ted Lasso and
Yeah.
you like, I love that show. This is
Yeah.
a perfect counter for that show. It is so similar in so many ways. After you watch it, you're gonna be like, oh, these are.
Yeah.
It's not that they're the same show,
It's
but
just
they
this, it's the side A,
kind of
side
got a
B.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So I actually very much enjoy that part of it. But where we got? Oh, Carmi was bringing in a sous chef.
Uh-huh.
Well, no, so he was bringing in an intern, basically, Stosh.
Yeah.
And he brings in Sydney, played by Ayo Edaberry, who has chemistry with every single person she's in the scene with.
Yes.
She is a wonderful actress, comedian. She's real funny as well. But
Mhm.
I'm telling you right now, there is nobody in this show who I've seen her with. I'm like, that seems uncomfortable. Like, no, she just is a delight, a gem for every person that she interacts with on the show, and I absolutely love it. And just
Now,
brings a lot.
I fully agree with you because I feel like the show could have been about her and
Yes,
it would have functioned just the same because she really is. Whereas the show is about Carmi and the people around him and his transition into this new lifestyle because he's thrown into it. His brother's passed and he's like, boom, now I got a restaurant. And the restaurant has been well established without him. But then when you bring in what is the character's name again?
which one?
Sydney. You bring
Okay,
in
yeah.
Sydney and it's like everyone she talks to. And it doesn't mean good relationship chemistry. It just means like the way they have conflict is magical. the way that they have
Yeah.
interest is magical. It's like they have very authentic relationships. And so like the way her and Richie play off of each other is very like at his core, you get the feeling that he kind of likes her as a person,
Mhm.
but he also is like she's disrupting his life. And
Yeah.
so there's that. And then you have the lady who works in the kitchen,
Tina.
uh, Tina.
Yeah.
Same thing with Tina. Tina's like, wait a minute, no, I'm main bitch in this kitchen. You are not coming to my kitchen. And the way they interact is very authentic. And I think that's it. It's just the authenticity of all the relationships. Her
Yeah.
relationship with Marcus, they're all like, she could have a whole season to herself focusing on each one of these characters, and it would make sense.
Yeah.
But you could
Yeah.
also see why it's about Carmi because, like, he's the main plot vehicle, but she's riding shotgun in this.
For sure. For sure. And like I said, amazing actress. And I dig her work, and I love her in this particular this go around. What else we got going on? Because I didn't write a whole like big summary. I just gave a brief little whatever of the situation.
Well, so some of the things that I've kind of added into mine, and you know, for the listeners, as we go through this, we'll start to develop our past systems a
For
little
sure.
more. But some of the notes I had in here was like you can really get the feeling that like right now, there's no relationships.
Okay.
Carmi is carrying the weight because he wants things done a certain way. But in order to develop leadership, you got to get people on board with you.
Yeah.
And right now, the people who are there, like even though they know him, he's the new boss,
Yeah.
like where they're just like, and you could feel the sense of Richie being like, I don't know why, because I think he even says it. Carmi says it to him, well, did he leave you the restaurant?
Yep.
Which is a fucking stab, but it's like, but he didn't. Like,
That's I,
hurts.
he had to approach him like that because Richie was wilding like
Oh, he was.
I got this system in place. I'm whatever, and you know what I'm saying, this is my house. And he
Hmm.
and Carmen just look at his and look to his face. All right, then why didn't he leave it to you?
Hmm.
And it's so real, and it hurts his feelings so much. And Richie just
Yeah.
like, fuck this shit. And then
Yeah.
he steps off and he starts yelling at the whole restaurant. Bread stays the same. Gravy stays the same.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. He's just mad. So then he's just yelling like he's like
Yeah. He's having a man
it's
tantrum.
what is it called? Impotent rage? Because he
Yeah.
can't do nothing. He can
No.
be mad, but the reality
Hmm.
of it is the person who owns this place told
Yeah.
you what was up.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
you can talk that, but the reality of it is he says what's what.
And that's where you see, like in my second note was you see the power struggle between cousin
Yeah.
Richie and Carmi is that this is a true changing of the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Richie, like you, Carmi does, in my opinion, he does need to respect Richie
Yeah.
because he wasn't there when Richie was trying to hold shit together while his brother was, as we will learn down the road, having his experiences.
Yeah.
And so Richie was like, the restaurant's still open because of me. We still got a staff because of me. He never claims to be successful. He just
Yeah.
claims I had it, like I had it working. And it's like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like that old car you had back in the day. That wasn't the best car I got from A to B. Like I knew how to take care of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to get rid of the old car so that you can get one that's more reliable, more efficient, runs better. And
Yeah.
that's where they're at a contrast right now because like I mentioned earlier, this is like a well entrenched location.
Yeah.
It's the old timers coming through. It's the young people coming through. And so it's like, you can't change it too much because then your people are going to be like, wait, what the fuck you mean you don't serve this anymore? You've been
Yeah.
serving it for decades. So it's that changing of the guard. Like, what do they do with this power struggle? Because it's not healthy. And it creates factions in the
Yeah.
environment because it's
Yeah.
like, you fuck with Richie, you fuck with Carmi. Either way, because then what happens with Carmi's knife?
Oh my God. So Carmi is using a pot in his restaurant. So his pot. But Tina's like, that's my pot and I need it. And he's like, I'm doing something with this pot right now. Leave it be. But she's angry about him using her pot. And so she steals his knife and hides it.
And it's
And
a
I'm like,
and it's a really like it's you could see that Carmi has a sense of like love and care for his items
Yes.
because he unfolds the packaging around the knife and
It's his
it's
knife bag.
clean.
Lots of chefs carry him. And
Yeah,
so
and
it's,
so like this is his thing, and when he walks away, he's like, "Where's my knife?" And everyone's like, "I don't know. Like
yeah,
we got lots of knives." And then at some point, when he looks down on the ground, it was like such a sign of disrespect because it was just like kicked under the stove.
yeah,
Like if it was just some fucking knife you got like a Target, some
and
fucking Cutco, not even Cutco, like the XOXO,
yeah. No,
so
and
that
it's the
hurts.
it's these gorgeous Japanese steel and these beautiful wood, probably antler handles, because a lot of the times they actually make those
Yeah.
handles out of
Mhm.
antler. So it's like it's the most lovely knife set you'd ever see, and then somebody just disrespect it because you used a pot that
Yeah.
truly, actually, without in all reality, belongs to you because you own the restaurant.
Yeah.
Bro, when you first watch the show, again, if you don't know what you're getting, what you're in for, and hopefully, either this is you watching this as a compliment to it, or or you're listening to this as a compliment to it, or or you watched it already, when you see that show and you look at that knife, I'm like, is he about to stab this bitch?
Yeah. No, straight up. It really that was like in my mind a very like Tarantino moment because I wanted it to do that sound that woo, woo. And like I was like, "Oh, he's
Yeah,
gonna lose his shit and fucking throw it at somebody like someone's about to get stabbed." And he doesn't, you know.
no,
But
no, and in fact, he bends down, he sees it, he picks it up, and he keeps it moving,
yeah.
and in fact, later you'll see him using that knife to cut up some beef. No, actually, I think no, that's before when
Yeah.
he was
Sure.
cutting up the beef to actually cook it down first.
Yeah.
But another thing, this restaurant is running out of money.
Yeah.
His brother was barely running it because his brother was just not in a good place to run it,
Yeah.
and so he gets a meat delivery at the beginning, and it's hundreds of pounds short because
Yeah, I
he
believe he
won.
goes, this is only 25 pounds. I ordered 225. And he
Yeah,
goes, no, like you can afford 25.
yeah. You pay for 25. Take it up with Lou, and then he gets on the phone, and you hear him saying Luann, which makes it's a cool little thing that I
Yes.
picked up just this
Yeah.
go around. I was like, oh, Lou is Luann because you just in your mind in people's
Yeah.
minds you think Lou is probably some
Yeah.
old meat
Some
man
guy.
who's been
Man,
at it forever.
it's fucking Luke, you
Yeah,
know?
but as it is, it's Luann,
Yeah.
who actually has nothing for him on that shit. So
Yeah.
he has to call up Connect his boy Chi Chi, played by the guy who actually owns the beef, the actual beef that the show is
Oh,
based that
really?
restaurant is based
Oh, I
on.
didn't know that.
That guy is him. That's his restaurant.
Okay.
That's who plays his buddy Chi Chi, who he sells vintage denim to, which is
Yes.
something I didn't even know was a thing. Did you know vintage denim was a thing? You be hip to things, Chavi. You
Yeah,
be
this is that I
yeah.
that I knew I knew about like vintage denim. Like I learned about vintage denim when a friend of mine in like the early 2000s went to go teach in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him coming home and he had a bunch of like his dad's old denim
Mm-hmm.
and he flipped the shit out of that denim, out of
Nice.
Levi in particular, because they
Yeah,
were like,
yeah,
oh, if you have the ones with these rivets and this color tag and this thing, it's you're looking at a fucking stack. And he was
yeah,
like, what? And so I remember him selling a few things to get by, and he was like, oh shit, like Japanese are wild about this fucking denim.
yeah,
And so he happened to be sitting on just a stockpile, and he's like, they're not gonna, my dad's like this tall and this whatever. It's like, it's not gonna fit me. And so
yeah.
when he took it back with him, he flipped it and he was like, oh, I made good money. And so I've always had that one in the back of my head. So when he flips the denim, I'm like, oh, he's got some good shit. Like he's gonna make money.
Also, fun, interesting to me, and also probably a lot of chefs do have so gets it. My man got a meat connect.
Mm,
That's so dope. He hits him his
yeah,
boy, be like, "Hey, do you still got that meat connect?" And he pays it off with a combination of vintage denim and there's they have these arcade machines in the front of the store that are driving Carmi insane because the noise they make, the attract screen noises are driving him insane. He goes to turn them off, and his teen is like, "Don't turn it off, don't
yeah,
turn it off." But then it clicks in his brain because Carmi's a smart guy. He's like, "When's the last time you emptied these out? Got the quarter slot open?" And that's where they end up getting the dough from. They open up the coin slots on these machines that turns out they doesn't think they've been emptied in years.
It looked like, and I think it was a symbolism of like a jackpot because the way that it was flowing was
Exactly.
just like
Scrooge
coins,
McDuck
like coins
money
fucking
bank shit.
flowing out. Now, I did when you talk about like having the meat connect, it really
Yeah,
took me back to like I l- I loved all episodes of No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain, you
yeah,
know. But when he did those episodes that were like the one-off of him hanging out with other chefs and like restaurateurs and things like that, that's how they function, where they're like, well, I call my meat guy. I go to this guy to get the grains. I go like it's a different way to move. They don't go
yeah,
to like fucking Ralph's, Kroger, wherever it is, you know what I mean? They
for
might
sure.
in a pinch. I mean, one they or you order differently, but if you know a person who's like, this is the dude, if you want chicken, and I bring up chicken for an example. I've had store chicken,
Yeah,
but then there's places where I've had chicken before and I'm like, oh, this is different.
yeah.
Why is it different? And it's like, oh, actually, because we get it from this person over here, and he raises them off this. You know, it's their fat to meat ratio is different. And I'm like, yeah, because this is moist and delicious. Whereas like this one I get from fucking El Pollo Loco is fine, but
It is chicken,
it's by definition shit
but it
isn't.
ain't chicken.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's also where you learn too that like I think this is what the show brings to the table, and we'll kind of talk about it maybe a little more as we get into like episode two, but just there's that balance between um being high end and then being common man.
Yeah,
And there is a balance between the two, but we'll tap into that a little bit later.
yeah,
Um and then also before we get into the ball breaker arc of this episode, um we have we get a little glimpse of Marcus. Now
yeah,
Marcus is the main pastry guy, the baker in the facility.
yeah.
And you start to get a glimpse in like when he learns that Carmi like actually had like greater sort of accolades
Yeah.
than what appeared. And so he's like, oh, word. You know, like you could see Marcus moves a little bit different, you know, and so
I have it written down, and then that pushes us to the end of the episode, so I won't quite jump right there.
okay,
But
then let's
but
get into
it,
ball breaker.
yeah, do that. So Ballbreaker, of course, is we're told is a Norwegian knockoff of Mortal Kombat. That's a fighting game. That's also a side scroller.
Yeah.
Chaffee and I play video games. We're very very
I,
versed in
w
video
I
games.
want to play this game.
I want that game to be real because it looks amazing.
It really does. It
If you kind of
really,
have
really does.
a recollection of Streets of Rage mixed with Ninja Turtles, that's
Yes.
kind of what it looks like. It's
Hmm.
kind of fantastic.
Yeah.
Carmi decides, again, trying to get some money in the restaurant, he's going to have a ball breaker tournament. This is where we meet Fack. He brings in Fack, his best friend Fack, to change the price of the machine to $1 a play as opposed to a quarter a play,
Order.
and it's popping. Ball
Yeah.
breaker players actually do want to come in and play the game. Richie's like, my Insta's blowing up, and Marcus is
Yeah.
like, what, all 30 of them? He goes, wait, is that a diss? I have 37 followers for you.
Yeah.
Again, so
And
like I said,
the
there,
line is around the corner. Like it's a
yes,
line. And this again is that sort of like old versus new.
yeah,
Carmi gets the power of social media. He gets the, he hit one like post and was like ball breaker tournament today at whatever
yeah,
at the beef, come down, get down.
yeah,
And then it wasn't just like dudes in jeans and t-shirts. It was full cosplay. Like it was like, okay, you tapped into a community. Like
yeah,
this is
yeah.
the real fucking deal. And they start getting a little rowdy too. You know, like Carmi has to go outside. What happens to our man Carmi?
Carmi get swamped, start getting stomped on, beat up on,
He
and again,
really did.
and I have what I've written down as some memorable lines from this episode, but this right here is my joint. And Richie comes out once he starts seeing Carmi. Because here's the thing, he's Carmi asked Richie to come out and help him, take care of the line. He's like, nah, remember it's not my house. So Richie's actually kind of already grumpy at Carmi, you know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying, about their previous argument. But when he sees Carmi's in trouble, Richie comes outside the restaurant, lifts the piece in the air, lick off a shot, and everybody get quiet and don't move, which is weird to me because I'm saying where I'm from, we run once the gunplay begins. But okay,
Yeah.
We let these suburbanites know no better. Ricky
Like
goes,
they didn't hit the ground either. They were just kind of like, okay,
yeah. And maybe Chicago different than we are, and
that's
I
true.
gotta respect it. But Richie comes out and said, any of you incel, QAnon, 4chan, Snyder Cut motherfuckers want to get out of line now. And bruh, it was, I'm telling you right there is when I was in for everything for this
Yeah.
show. I was like, oh, this is my show.
Yeah.
Cause that is a bar.
It really is. You put that in any song, it's gonna hit. Like just just the way he delivers it is so like he read the room. And there wasn't anyone in that line who could be like, "You talking to me?" Because it's like, yeah, I might not be all four of these descriptions. I'm two of them. You know, like
This is where again, like one, I'm in for the show at this point, but also Richie immediately proves his mettle and is like, all right, here's how this tournament's going to play out.
yeah,
Richie don't want nothing to do with this.
yeah.
Had nothing to do with this. Carmi didn't prepare.
Hmm.
He needed to have talked to Richie about this beforehand. He didn't,
Well,
and
because
the
they
results.
had they discussed the prize in the
No,
original
none of
post?
that.
Because I
No,
was like, this is Richie off rip. Because
yeah,
he's like, you're gonna come inside, you're gonna order a sandwich to play, you're gonna like, this is what you're gonna do, and if you
yeah.
win, well, it's single elimination, and you get fucking Italian ice for the rest of the year.
If you win, yeah, yeah. It's like Carmi in Carmi's mind. He's like, oh, these people will just come here and they'll probably order food,
Uh-huh.
and play the game, and we'll make money off the game. Because he just that's where his windfall just came from.
Yeah.
His treasure chest was the gains.
Yeah.
Richie knows the deal. He's like, no, people won't come in here and just buy food. You have to
Mhm.
force their hand. So he says you got to buy an Italian beef combo to enter the tournament. You
Yep.
still got to pay the machine to play the tournament. Single elimination. Get the fuck out of my restaurant after you lose. Don't be
Mhm.
looking at my people weird because I
Yeah.
have regular customers that I serve here. You know what I'm saying? So don't be on that nonsense.
And that's where
Abs-
Richie again has that vision because you're gonna have this crowd hogging up the restaurant. If you and I are regulars and we're
yeah,
not part of the ball breaker scene, like we're gonna keep walking. The fuck
yeah,
is going on? It's like full of a bunch of nerds. I'm gonna go down the street. But
yeah.
he's like, no, because he states it. Don't stare at the regular customer. Like,
Yep.
he's like,
Don't make
because we're gonna have people come through.
yeah.
Let them come through. You buy your sandwich, you fucking kick rocks.
Yeah, I love it. So then Richie, of course, wraps that up with before he walks away, turns back around. Also, I hate litter. So you cucks are gonna clean up after yourself and you're gonna goddamn recycle.
Yeah.
If you see Richie Jaramovich, you're not thinking that's a guy who's into fucking the environment and recycling.
No, no. That's a guy who he why his character doesn't always have a cigarette in his mouth or rolled up in his sleeves, it just he seems like that, just like, damn, okay, you're an angry loudmouth character all the time.
Yeah.
But this is where we see that like and the show will do this as it continues. These characters are multifaceted.
Yes.
And what the bear does well, in my opinion, and we'll see as the evolution of the show goes on, these are more than characters. These are people.
Yeah.
They're not just playing the single flat-sided persona. I'm the chef and it's like, no, we start to unpack their lives, their history, their experiences, their loss, their love, their vulnerability. Like it all comes through, and it's like you see moments like this with Richie. Richie's fighting Carmi this whole fucking episode
Yeah.
hard, like where they are fighting for position, literally fighting for position.
Yeah.
And then but you see moments like this where it's like, I'm gonna tell you, I hate you to your fucking face. I hate the way you walk. He
If you
did
sneak disc, I hate the way you sneak disc. If I catch fight, it's gonna be direct. That's
right.
Richie letting you know.
But he still said, but I got love for you. I
Exactly.
got this is another one. This friendly fades, like,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
in the end, I got your back. You're cousin because I'm cousin, and I got you. Like
We folk and we've been folk our entire life.
the
So
entire,
yeah,
like I'm older than you, so I knew you before you were a person.
Yeah,
Like so he when he saw his man's outside getting stomped out, he instead of just being like, well, fuck him, that's his thing.
yeah,
He covered his back, then he whipped everyone into shape, put the game in play, and boom,
yeah.
they fucking went for it. And it's like that was like a great experience. But I also liked in there um that so they do a thing where Carmi makes sandwiches for every because it's a different cut of meat because they couldn't afford it. He didn't do the peppers differently or something like that. Oh,
I don't. So,
he braised the
yeah,
meat. That's what it was.
braised meat because it's bone in, so he had to cook it a different way.
Yeah. And so he makes a sandwich for everyone to try it out. And then when fucking Richie has the sandwich at the end, because he wasn't gonna eat it. He was like, fuck you, fuck your sandwich. Oh no. And then he eats it and he's just like, oh, this fucking sandwich is so good.
Mind you, before that, everybody who had had the sandwich is like, "Yo, this sandwich is fire!" Because of course, Carmi is
He can get
I'm not
down.
joking, a starred chef.
Yes.
And yeah, at some point, well, yeah, Marcus looks at him and says, "You can get down, can't you? You can throw down, can't you?"
Yeah.
And he just said, "Hey, go grab me a palm brick." And Marcus responds, "Heard, chef."
Yeah. And
Marcus is our
that's when Marcus flips.
Marcus is our first domino. He's the
Yeah.
first one who is like, okay, I see what can happen if I listen to this dude. Because initially Marcus is like, don't tell me how to do my job, and Carmi don't take that shit. He don't second guess it. He like just do it, and he keep him motherfucking moving. And
Yeah.
so in this case, it is adding a bain marie, a water bath to the oven when you bake the bread.
Yeah, because
Make
he's
sure
don't tell me how to bake my bread or something like that. He's like,
yeah, yeah. He literally says, "Don't tell me how to do my job," and it's like,
yeah,
"The fuck out of here! This dude is a starred chef. Tell me
yeah.
everything how to do my job. Get me
Because
right."
once he gets the bread and it's like, because what he said was too crumbly, and
Yeah,
then once
yeah.
he gets it out and he's like, it's one of those losing moments where like you have to give it up to the opposition, and he did. He was just like, yeah, you ain't wrong. Like this is superior. I was serving up some shit. Your advice was right.
So already this beef shop, you know what I'm saying, that has like we just said is an established place in this city, in this corner of this city. You know what I'm saying? Has tweaked their bread and tweaked their beef, but made them substantially better.
Yeah.
And that's so fly, man. It's like already you can say, like, look, if you just walk this walk with me, I'm gonna take you places.
Yeah.
But it's not just me being able to do this alone. And like I said, we get to that. Something I want to talk about because I think it's very memorable and noticeable throughout this show is the music choices they make. And
Yes.
it's always like some dope tracks. And so two I pulled for this one are Via Chicago by Wilco
Mhm.
and Animal by Pearl Jam. Via Chicago starts playing as we start getting toward the end of the episode. You catch a little vibe and some scenes are playing out. You're like, what's up with that song? That's got a little something to it.
Yeah.
And then when we wrap that episode, we come in that Pearl Jam Animal. It's a hard ass song.
It is.
I love Pearl Jam. I grew up with Pearl Jam. I'm old, so so
No,
and it comes
this show is very much a Gen X show
yeah
because the music that's throughout this is very like it's Wilco, it's Pearl
yeah
Jam. Eventually we hear the Breeders, like it's all these, and they're not always the radio. Even though Animal was on the radio, it wasn't. It's they could have easily went with Even Flow,
yeah
similar
and
similar
any
energy,
so
but they didn't.
some other show would have because they
Yes.
would have. Hey, I want somebody to tap their number. Like, nah, man, I need you to know. There, you can go get the playlist soundtrack to the Bear. That's how ingrained music is into the
Yep.
show.
Yeah.
And I super dig that.
Yeah.
Did we
Did
rap
they
through all the characters?
did
We did
they
rap through all the
already
characters. Yeah.
have do they do the family dinner in this?
Yes. Yeah. 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 Because so Sid because Sid this is Sid's first day. Your test as an intern as a stage.
Mm.
We're gonna use the word is family, and that's meat and a bunch of sides basically put together. And Sydney hooks it up, makes she makes some plantains, she makes a fennel salad. I forgot what the entree was, but
Yeah.
she hooked it, and there's all like, okay, Sid can cook because Sid herself is a well trained, went to the Culinary Institute of America,
Yes.
has worked in some nice restaurants, and for a while there, and for a bit there, we'll learn did some private catering. So
Yeah.
Sid is on her shit. she's the perfect counterpart to Carmi for what
Yeah,
Carmi wants to do with the restaurant going forward. He needs a Sid in his life.
yeah.
Needs a Sid, as it turns out. We get down with that here in episode 2. So I guess
And
we
you
should
see
probably just
with
slide.
all those qualifications how she is a threat because she's
A
young.
threat, you think?
Well, a threat to the old team
See,
because she comes in too equipped, and that's where it puts people on their
oh,
defenses.
there you go. It puts them back on their heels because they worry she's coming in to take their job.
Yeah,
That's not how this. It is not that. It's
yeah,
just not how this restaurant would ever function.
yeah,
Carmi knows that this is a family restaurant, and
yeah.
these people have been here forever.
And I felt like that was such a great move to allow her to do the family because it was
Yeah,
like, I got to give you a win.
yeah.
I'm pretty confident you can do this. But if I let someone else do this, it's gonna, not that you don't want to empower others, but sometimes you have to empower specific people. So because they can't get through the door by themselves.
Yeah.
They don't even know where the fucking door is.
Yep.
So you have to like open it and then allow them in. Like a fucking vampire. They can't come in until you welcome them. You
Oh
know?
yeah, we
So
can. We see we be pinging all around. That's why we gotta get it a little tighter. We'll figure it out. But we got to go back to when we meet Sydney.
yeah.
She comes in. She says, "Hey, I'm Sydney. I'm here. I'm here, Staj." And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, okay, Staj, okay." He looks over her resume. He's like, "Yo, these are some these are some heat," as he says. These
Yeah.
restaurants that she's worked at. And then he's like, "What's that? UPS? What's that?" And she's like,
Yeah.
United Parcel Service. He's
Yes.
like, "Oh yeah, the mail." He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." He goes, "Oh yeah, I drove for them to help pay for culinary institute, the CIA." And he's like, "Why are you here?" And she explains that this was a spot her dad came to on Sundays
Mhm.
all the time. So it's like it's her family restaurant. It's
Yes.
her. It's she has a history here.
They are
That,
both there for the same reason. And it is
yes.
not because of their qualifications, it's because of their heart.
Yep.
My heart is
Ex-
here.
exactly. But at the same time, Sydney responds to him, "Hey, can I ask a few questions?" He's like, "Sure." She's like, "You were the CDC of the finest restaurant in this entire country." And when we say that to you as listeners, that's not a joke. The finest restaurant in the country, and at some point you'll find out under some people, the finest restaurant in the world.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Making sandwiches."
Yeah.
And it's like, God dang, man. It's like, it's so dope. It's not because he fell off. It's not because he did something wrong and was fired or let go, or he's got
Mhm.
to fight his way back up the
It
ranks.
wasn't scandalous. It was,
No,
yeah, he wasn't no like, to use more modern terms, it wasn't a Me Too, it wasn't a cancel situation. It was just life called.
it
Life said,
did.
this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm making fucking sandwiches now. Like, okay. But for him, it's also a matter of like, does this? It could be sandwich, or it could be another extravagant meal that later on he talks about one that took like 12 people to assemble.
Yeah.
Either way, he's a fucking dial it in.
Yep.
And that's that. That's there's no conversation. I do this, period.
Yeah.
You know. Um, but so you do have one more memorable line, and maybe we'll kind of land it here and we'll start transitioning into episode two. But in Richie's frustration, where he's like, I don't know where anything is. He's still in that moment
I
of
wrote, I wrote it down too.
anger. That's what I was looking at your notes right now. And he asked Marcus, he's like, look at it. What is this? And he's pulling fucking containers that have these big ass labels across the front. And he's like, I can't even find the chili flakes, the fucking chili flakes. And he's like, Marcus, just in the calmest fashion, he's like, right there,
Labeled chili
labeled chili
flakes.
flakes. And just hands it to it. It's like, because sometimes, like, you could be upset and so frustrated that you miss the point when it's right there.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was so symbolic of this episode. Like, you can keep fighting Carmi. And I'm not saying Carmi's right. Carmi's got a lot to learn, especially from what we've seen just in this episode. But it's right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Carmi's got
You.
a vision. See how you can work with him.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're not gonna see the chili flakes. And they're fucking right there in
Right
big
there in front of
writing.
you.
Just
Yeah.
says it just says chili, you know? And then I think the episode ends with, as we're going to see throughout the season, that first can of tomato sauce. He opens it up and then he just fucking chucks it.
Yeah.
And it's like, ah man. But we'll see that character later. So let's slide in now into episode 2. Take us away, T.
Episode 2 is titled "Hands." Again, written and directed by one Christopher Storer. Our regular cast, but we get a couple of additions this episode. We get to meet Pete, who's Sugar's husband, and we get to meet Uncle Jimmy. What's his last name? Cicero, Jimmy Cicero,
Yes,
and that is their uncle, just like Jimmy, just like Richie is Carmine's cousin. You know
cousin.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like it's real black people coded. I want you to know that. You know what I'm saying? That's my cousin, like, but really this just my mama's friend, and that's my
Yeah.
uncle, but really that's like it's my dad's people from like when they went to in the Navy together. It's
Mhm.
that kind of situation. But his uncle Cicero is who will meet,
As
played by
as people in the
the
community would
amazing Oliver
know,
Platt.
this is your play auntie.
You'll play cousin,
You
play
play
play all that for real, for real. And actually we didn't actually learn that until this episode. So we actually that's actually a place we'll get to. Your little summary, I guess I'll give you
Yeah.
of this, and then we'll break it down further. Is this episode opens on a flashback of Carmi at his previous job in New York. Remember, he worked at this great restaurant. They
Mhm.
say that he worked at 11 what is it, 11 Madison, and that restaurant they're actually in, I saw somewhere else was like, it's actually a restaurant in Chicago that they got to shoot in.
Yeah.
So that's actually not in New York, but they say it's in New York. Carmen is in what is the polar opposite. Polar doesn't even seem far enough away. Opposite in
Yeah.
way the most opposite of the Bear restaurant possible. It's all white. It's the Apple Store of restaurants. It's in perfect harmony. He orders something, yes, chef. The entire crew, because he's the
Yeah.
sous at this restaurant. This woman walks up to him with this sauce, and he's like, "It's still broken, chef." And he doesn't say it mean at all. And she knows to go fix it. She comes back shortly, still not right, chef. She goes away again. Nothing mean, no yelling, no nothing.
It's just militant. Like
Yes,
clock, clock, clock.
yeah,
Everyone's in unison, chant, respond. Like, we don't have time to talk. We only have time to work. We have a
correct.
mission and we're going to complete it.
So all of a sudden, we get a character who we must take as the CDC, or you must be the chef de cuisine, comes in, and he's like, he walks up to that same girl that Carmi has just been not a sweetheart to, but fine to, and it's like, why is it broken? And she's like trying to explain herself, and she's clearly scared of this dude. He is scary to her.
Because he
His
repeats the
tone is
question like
jacked up.
multiple times. Like,
Yeah,
that wasn't the right answer.
yeah,
That wasn't the right answer.
it was too hot.
Yeah.
Go. Just sends her wherever he sends her. And maybe he just wants her out of the kitchen, out of his face right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You could take it to mean she was fired right then and there. You could take it to mean she was sent home and with no money for the shift. Any number of things could have happened. So it's wild to see that happen. And then he walks up on Carmody and he just starts berating him. Oh, you have a short man's complex. Oh, you with all your little tattoos. Say yes, chef, because Carmody would answer him. You say yes, chef. Like basically just militant is correct because it's military precision at this point in time.
Yeah, because the Carmi would respond with like, yes. And he's like, it's yes, chef. And he does it a couple times where he doesn't add the chef portion.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's coming off as a sign of disrespect from Carmi towards this person, but it is also it's that sign of you're lacking discipline.
Yeah. And at some point, and we don't know if this is just a dream or this as a man actually said this to him, but he's like, you should be dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, for a person whose brother died some months after this, it's like, I hope that man didn't say that for real.
Right.
Because also, again, it's like, man, do you not see how many knobs is around me? Watch
Yeah.
your tone, pimp.
Yeah,
Watch your
seriously.
tone.
And to kind of go into what I felt was like the sort of symbolism being like portrayed here is that like this is a stark contrast to the beef.
Yeah.
Like this is a stark contrast to the restaurant in itself because this one is like medically like clean. It's
Yeah.
white. everything is shining. Whereas at the
He's
at the
literally
beef,
using tools that could be used in
yeah, it's
a
very
doctor's
surgical.
office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then whereas like on the beef, it's like the floor's dirty, there's grime, there's like coagulated this and that all over the
mustard and shit
place.
running down the wall. It's
He
disgusting.
says hands, everyone yells in
Hands.
response.
Yeah,
He says hands 40 times in the fucking beef and no one listens.
yep,
And so it's this contrast of like, and what I put on in my notes was um, what this shows us is that you can be on top, but every top has a low point.
yeah,
So you could be on top, but you could also be on the bottom.
yeah.
And so you think like, I made it, I'm successful. Someone's still there to shit on you. Someone's still there to
Mhm.
press you. Or you could be in this other place where it's a grind and you don't have the accolades or notoriety, but you got community.
Yeah,
So it's really a matter of like, which way do you want it? Because some people really will consider. So I felt like it was a more like comment on society where it's
yeah,
like, but if you got the nice car and you got the nice house and you got the jewel, you got the things, you're perceived visually as successful. But when sometimes the success is the people you work with,
yeah,
success is the product you put out, where it's
yeah,
just like, let me tell you, some of the best foods I've had in my life are the most basic foods, you know?
yeah.
That and the funny comparison is this is one sandwich I know I'll never have again in my life, but my friend and I talk about it, and this is now a smooth like 30 years later. We used to go to um a little street fair during the summertime in the city of Ventura. And on Main Street, there was a guy who made tri-tip sandwiches that were the best tri-tip sandwiches I ever had. And then right next to him, someone was making fresh kettle corn before kettle corn blew up on the scene.
Yeah.
And so it was like my tri-tip, my kettle corn, and something to drink. And I was like, heaven. And so it's like, it's this. Like, I could have the one meal that's like, I've had some expensive meals. I've had some of those fancy meals in my life. Nothing will ever beat that tri-tip sandwich. And all that sandwich was a fucking roll, the tri-tip, and some barbecue sauce. That's it. But nothing will ever compare to that sandwich. So it's just
Respect
like,
it.
which way do you want it? And I felt like the opening that they provided here was you have these elements of like, I'm on top and someone's telling me I need to die. Like
Yeah,
I need to not exist in this world because the fucking sauce is broken. Wow. Like you're wilding.
for sure, for sure. So again, and you get this like this immediate cut. Again, word to this cinematographer firm and just whoever else has their hands around the deck on this to do some things like this. You cut from this, like I said, this sterile and lab to the
Yeah, if
beef,
mhm.
and it's like a wet ass. Again, I remember we just told you before, like the Italian beefs are honestly a wet sandwich, and he's wrapping his sandwich up in this paper, and you can see it just the paper's so greasy and wet you can see through it. You might as well be
Yeah.
wrapping it in lace or
Right,
whatever.
seriously. You know, at some point, like you probably eat 30% of that paper because at some
Yeah,
point the paper just becomes part of the sandwich. Like
for sure.
you just that's what it is. You know, I put down too, it's like this really showed to kind of go with what you're saying. It's like sometimes structure is just as harsh or even harsher than chaos.
Yeah,
And so it's like, yeah, you make this greasy fucking sandwich. And it's like, but you know what? I'm working. I'm
yeah,
surviving. I'm feeding the peoples directly.
for sure. And so you see how filthy the place is, and then like pretty much next scene, Carmen like we cleaning this bitch.
Yeah.
Hands means I need y'all motherfuckers on deck to clean y'all station because this is terrible. And so the whole place is like scrubbing down the restaurant, which is just so handy because it turns out of nowhere we get a visit by one Miss Shore, who is a city inspector there to inspect the restaurant.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Rob. What was her partner's name? Ron. Yeah, Ron Pager.
Yeah, Ron Pager. Ron Pager.
Who she had been doing inspections with before this, but uh,
Yeah, she's all Ron's not with us anymore.
but then she goes, "Not with us." She gives him that look like, and then Mark's like, "Oh shit, Ron dead." Richie's
Yeah,
trying to handle it because, of course, this is my house, and he's trying to handle this. But it's like Carmi is again. This is Carmi's restaurant, owns this
yeah,
restaurant outright, and Carmi comes out of the scene. Is like, hey, you know what? Hey, make yourself at home. Whatever you need, just let me know.
yeah.
Because he
And that's where the
knows
that's where
he cleaned
experience
the shit
comes
out that.
through.
Yeah, he knows he cleaned the absolute fuck out that restaurant. Had the crew do it with him.
Yeah,
They had cleaned. He was like, I'm good till he wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah,
And we'll get to that part in a bit, as far as like one of the downfall pieces, but she comes through, she cleans up, she does, or she sees what they've done, and it's like the things that stick them are the fucking hole that's like was plugged up with paper that's now like basically like a fire hazard, and someone
yeah,
left a pack of cigarettes out, and so she's like, you get a C
yeah.
at the letter grading in the window. And the when that letter C, my God, you would have thought she had just taken a fat shit in the middle of their restaurant because they were like, "No, don't touch the paper. Don't do
Yeah, yeah. As it maybe it's like getting served. If you touch it, it's
it."
real. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah, they were like, "Mm-mm, don't take it. Don't take it."
bruh?
Yeah,
So Carmi takes that C.
yeah,
He looks at that C, and then he look up at Richie, and he immediately run up on Richie, and I'm like, "It's the shit we talk. You running it? This your fucking house?" Poking him, shoving him, and then they
yeah,
really start getting each other. And right here, Richie says, "What if they're your cigarettes?" Never noticed that before. Not once
yeah,
have I noticed him saying that out
yeah,
loud, because as we found out, they were Carmen cigarettes.
yeah.
But
And you feel
Richie's
bad for Richie because he does like as well, and this is after the next scene we'll discuss.
yeah,
But at one point he goes like he's like, I can't believe I left my fucking cigarettes there. Like
because
Richie owns it. Like
yeah,
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 it sounds
exactly.
like something I would do until Carmi's out later at the end, like towards the end of the episode, trying to get a smoke, and then you see him pat down, and then it sort of flashes back, and it's like, I fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
But
me.
I'll tell you right now, we were making the same point, which was Richie just he pats himself down when she says that, as if, fuck, where are my cigarettes?
Uh-huh.
And but he yells still because of course Carmi and him fighting. But
Yeah.
then like you said, he's sitting in the car with Sydney. He's like, fuck, I fucked up, man, with
Yep.
those cigarettes. And it's like, oh damn, bro.
Now we did skip over a scene that I did want to highlight, and that was when Carmi gets home and has that sort of nightmare. Now, I really, really liked this scene because Carmi gets home, he's fucking beat, he's tired, and he's got to make himself something to eat. He's been serving people all day long, and he just makes a fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Peanut butter
And
jelly, Coke, and Doritos.
and that's it. And it's like, you know what? There's some things that are just they're already perfection, just the way they are. And it shows too, like you could be that top tier chef that he is. He has the skills to make the most beautifully complex, and he can make the most amazing fucking beef sandwich. But sometimes just a little fucking peanut butter, a little bit of jelly, boom, like I'm good. It's
I feel
just down to that.
I feel like he might use fancy jelly though.
Nah, the way that looked, that
Did look
that
like just some. It did
that
look like
was
just some concrete. It did.
that was great.
That was great for one,
That
which
was
I fuck
great.
with. Don't say no disrespect. I fuck with grape jelly. That's my.
No,
That's my. The rest of my house do not, but
yeah.
I'm a
Because
grape jelly
when I
man.
saw that it was grape, I was like, A, you grew up with not a lot of money, or B, you had your ratio of white friends to black friends was more black friends than white friends. Because it's just I would just say it was not orange marmalade. It was not apple butter.
Not some type of jam or remoulade or whatever.
Right,
Yeah, yeah. You're
exactly,
right. You're right.
exactly. Or it was some compote. With this full spread a very syrupy gelatin. I was like, that is fructose. All of
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
fructose ass jelly right there, man. I was like, you're a real one. Because then he washed it down with a Coke, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. But sometimes it's like that, where it's just like, I'm not looking for an experience. I'm not looking for something to just like take my palate away. Like
Yeah.
I just need something for me. And for
Yeah.
right now, It's just this PB&J and this Coke, and I'm good. And then he fucking
Oh,
taps out. And then he has that wild dream about like the kitchen burning up and he's kind of freaking out, which is a little bit of like a foreshadowing
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Which then eventually leads to a conversation with his sister Sugar. Um, and then they're like, or I think that might be later in the
It is. It
episode,
is.
right? When he
It is.
talks
It
to
is.
Sugar. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get to that after. But so now they're feeling bad. The fucking they got to fix it. They're arguing about who needs to fix the hole in the wall. So they've just had the car. Has Sydney already given him the book of like how they could save money?
No, I don't think that happened yet. I think that, yeah, yeah. I think that occurs after they get back from trying to after because he thanks her for taking Richie to the hardware store. I
Uh-huh.
think that happens there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in this case, Sydney ends up. This is hilarious. We find out because Sydney has a recommendation that if we go pick up our flour, it can save on deliveries. And he's like, okay, yeah, Marcus. And she's like, "Oh, but why Marcus?" He goes, Mark's the only one who can do it. And he goes, what? Yeah, these three people don't drive. Richie's license is suspended. And her response is, he drove in this morning.
Yes.
But then we come right back around to it because after this whole, you got to go to the hardware store. You got to get some caulk, some joint compound. We're going to fix these holes. He's like, well, I can't because my license is suspended. And again, he's like, you drove in this morning.
Yeah. What she doesn't get in her sort of like she is very bright. She is a very smart person. That's irrelevant, kid. That is yeah, so you saw me drive. I don't have broken arms. I just don't have a license. Like the fuck are you talking about?
Like, just because I ain't got no L's don't mean I can't, I know what I'm doing. I know
Yeah.
how to drive.
Like you are still you know what? You're telling me as a smoker that smoking's bad for me.
As if I don't know.
I go, yeah, like, oh shit, is this new literature? Do we just find out? I
Like,
know.
you lying. You know, say word.
Yeah,
Smoking bad for you? That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
bro. So Sid and Richie ride out. They get in their car. He's like, you got to wiggle it. Speaking about the key, because the car don't just start. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I had to wiggle it. And he's like, and these Arby's cups are from multiple trips, not just from today. I would expect no way in the car. And she goes,
I
I
respect
respect
it.
it. Because again, nobody is shaming anybody for what they doing. And even though, like I
No,
said, we want you to be a high end, we want to be a better restaurant. But I ain't gonna shit on you for getting your Arby's on because they make a mean Jamocha shake.
well, okay, but with that too, it's like I know he only says he only has the cups, right? But it's like you work in a beef shop. Your ass went to Arby's. But you know what?
So
Might have gone
hey,
for the Jamocha. You're right. You might
I'm
just
telling you, man, got me a Jamocha. He probably got a Jamocha shake and maybe an apple turnover. So
yeah.
it's some
Because
curly fries. They ain't
in
got curly fries popping at the beef.
in the same pathway, let me tell you this. I don't need a lot of Jack in the Box, but they do a killer Oreo shake. And if you get a chocolate Oreo shake from Jack in the Box, stop playing. Stop playing. You will go back the next night because you'll be like, you know what, that was pretty good. So some things are on lock, you know? Would I tell you
For
to go to
sure.
the Jack in the Box on a regular day? Absolutely not. I'd be like, nah, not unless you're drunk. It's the only thing open. Yes. Other than that, you want a good Oreo shake, chocolate at that? You go Jack in the Box. That shit is
There you go.
consistently good.
Fair. You've just
Rest.
learned something about West Coast consumption. Or I
Yeah.
guess if you're, I believe I was told once that they have a Jack in the Box in Orlando, Florida. So
Oh, they're not all over? Shit, I don't know.
no, no, no. Jack in the Box is a specifically east of the Mississippi kind of vibe.
Oh, and I guess we could point that out too. Okay, so Chalfie, I am out here on the West Coast LA area, and my man T.
Hold it down, Northeast Ohio.
Yeah. So
What we
you're gonna
do?
get some difference of perspectives too. We're gonna get some different insights because um, just being in different coasts, things kind of move in different ways. So
Yeah.
I'm also learning that Jack in the Box don't exist near you.
No,
Wild.
no Carl's this way. It's Hardy's
Oh,
over this
yeah, I
on
was gonna
this
say
way.
Hardee's.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how we get down.
But
It's
so back to the show. Now they're so now Richie and Sydney are going to the hardware shop because they got to fix this hole. And you kind of see the consistency in like Richie's personality.
Yeah.
He does not like anyone to tell him anything. This dude moves on his own. So even when she's like, "Hey, why don't we ask somebody?" and he's like, "No." And then when he's reading all the different materials and he's like silicone, white, whatever. She's like, "Oh, so you're just reading them out loud?"
But as they walk through this hardware store looking for stuff, this is where we again, it's just environmental storytelling. You're learning things just because just as things happen. And
Yeah.
Sydney says, "So, how are you and Carmi cousins? Is your mom's side, your dad's side? Oh, we're not really cousins. You know what I'm saying? We just Michael's my best friend." And so she said, "Hey, well, what happened with him? Oh, about 4 months ago, shot himself in the head. God damn.
Yeah, he didn't soften the blow. He really says it matter of factly.
Yeah.
And I want to put a pin in that portion on why he says that in that way, because when we come up to the letter, I think we start to see where his headspace is.
Ah, see, had a point I hadn't considered. And so then we the viewer, and you the listener, have just learned that Michael didn't just die. Michael took his own life, and you can now then you just rewind it, go back, and all of a sudden you go look at then you go back and look at episode one with a very fresh set of eyes. You're like,
Yeah,
oh, my man is very fucked up off of this.
yeah.
So is his sister, who comes through to visit him at one point in that first
Yeah.
episode. We didn't really discuss, but still, and it's like, okay,
Because
okay,
when you
I get,
hear the conversation between, so in episode one, when there's the conversation between Sugar, Carmi's sister,
yeah.
and him, you almost get the impression, but it's never really like explicitly stated that it must have been an overdose. Like it's kind of the vibe they're going for.
Yeah.
And but when you hear like, oh, he shot himself in the head, or he took one to the dome or something, I think he says, it's like,
No, no,
oh,
he literally said shot himself in the head. Yeah,
did he
yeah,
say that? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it's like, oh, that's not to say one way of dying is better than the other, but it's like, oh, that's aggressive.
yeah.
Like, fuck. Okay, this,
Overdose, accident, maybe. You know what I'm saying? You can
yeah,
kind of look at it accidental. Shot yourself in the head. You did this with intention and
two.
intentionality. It
Mhm.
is very different.
Yep. I will be here at 10:01. At 10:02, I will no longer exist. Like it's
Yeah,
like that. So you can kind of see it in her face of like, oh, fuck.
yeah.
So now he drops that bomb on her. They get into the car and then they
That's when he
have a little
recognizes he's like, damn, man, I really fucked up. But this is where we find another. We get another layer of Richie too. Go ahead, talk that talk.
yes. So Richie
Yeah, yeah.
says, and he picks up the phone. He's like, why do you keep calling me?
Facts, and it's that aggressive right there. It's
Yeah.
like again that we think, man, Richie a dick, bro. Even the people.
Richie's always annoyed. Always. So he's like, why you calling? Why you keep calling me? And then it's you assume because I don't think they say it clearly at this point, but it's like it's his partner. And so find out, then he gets on the phone and like she's like, well, you probably said something, whatever, whatever. That's why she's crying because she has to go to a new school now. So it's like, okay, there's some change, there's some adjustment here. And then Richie changes and he is
On
the
a dime.
like, and he is the softest, most caring, where it's like, oh, you're a good dad. Like, okay. Because he's like, the way he's speaking to her isn't like, suck it up, stop fucking crying. He's just like, it's gonna be okay. You got this. I love, what do you say? I love you more. I love you more every day if that's even possible. Like
Yeah,
he's like, he is feeding her soul. He is in that moment, whatever is happening in the world has stopped because he's there for his girl.
yeah,
He is there for her. And he doesn't care that Sydney's in the car. He's constantly a hard ass with Sydney, and he's allowing this vulnerability to take place because
hmm
it's like he doesn't have a shame. He just has a hard shell.
yeah,
My assumption is that he's probably a cancer. Yeah. um, but so he's just like he has to be there for her. He has to take care of his baby, and so
yeah,
he wants to make sure she's okay. And it's like once the conversation's done and he tells her he loves her and he wishes you want to talk to mom. He's like, no, I don't want to talk to your mom. Like, so there's still
I don't
that.
need to. I don't need to talk to mommy.
Yeah, he has his moments, but it's like this is his soft spot. this is who he cares for and who he lives for is his daughter. And I think so now his loss of his best friend,
Yeah.
potential loss of a relationship or a separation from his child.
Yeah.
Richie's going through some shit. So it's like,
Yes.
are you mad or are you hurt? Like,
Yes.
what is happening here? But I also like how he kind of slides back where Sydney asks, like, how old your daughter? And he goes, she's 5, like Carmi, you know, Carmi, the
Food
food
and Wine's biggest
dickhead.
dickhead.
Yeah. It's like he just has to go back where he's like, yeah, okay, you saw me be chill. You saw that was not for you.
Yeah.
That was for her. I still talk shit. Don't forget, like it's so he really snapped back into the moment. But it's kind of like, again, this is why I said these aren't characters, these are people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get a phone call from your kids and it's like, I got to be there for you.
Yeah.
Like I could tell you without getting into like too many details. I had a moment like this recently. I'm fucking tired. End of the workday. I've already done all the things I need to do, fight traffic to get home. I'm home for maybe 30 minutes. I get a call from my son. I need you to come pick me up. And I'm like, you got an electric scooter. What the fuck I need to pick you up for? You need to come get me. So I was like, okay. And then he was just having a hard time.
Yeah.
And so it was like I had to be there for him. And so I was like, so when he's like, I just need you to come. He didn't explain. He just said, I need you to come. And I said, I will be there in
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, because that's what you do for your people.
Yeah.
Like at first you might be like, yeah, why are you calling me? And then it's like, sorry, I'm there. I'm going. And it's like that's how we function as people. And now we're seeing this with Richie. Like,
And it's twice now we've seen it in 2 episodes. Like I said, when Carmi's in trouble, I'm out there with the piece on my in my hand.
uh-huh.
My kid needs me. I'm right there on the phone telling her, I'm if it don't get better, I'll give you $500, and
Yeah.
I'll make it better one way or the other,
Yeah,
baby. Don't
one
worry.
way or the other. And that says that Richie is like he's a road dog. Like he's got your back,
He's a
but
rider.
he's also the person you need to have in your little cluster of friends.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need someone to be like, you're fucking up. Or you're getting on my nerves. Like they gotta test you and sort of gauge you along the way because if you just hang out with a bunch of people who just always tell you yes and you're great, then you
Yeah.
don't know. Like, hey, sometimes you're kind of being whack, you know? Like Carmi's really in his head too. And he might not be making all the best choices.
Correct.
And Richie could just be like, it's your restaurant, kid. I'll follow your lead. It'll be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And then it all goes to shit.
Yep.
But he's like, nah, I've been here. I've
Yeah.
been doing this, so we're gonna make it work. So to see that really come through was like super, super awesome. Like I really, really loved it.
Yeah.
And then and then this turns into the next scene, which is my favorite character of the whole series. My man Pete. I love Pete so much.
The long and the short way. That dude is fun. Funny. If you ever watched the show Love on Netflix,
Uh-huh.
he's in that show as well. Hilarious. And Carmi calls his sister.
Uh,
No, Carmi's been attempting to call his sister,
and
who
she hasn't
hasn't
picking
been
up.
answering the phone. So finally, instead, he calls his brother-in-law, Pete. And right off the rip, again, this is just storytelling that you get right off the rip. You can tell that there is something between Carmi and Pete.
Uh,
And he's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry about that thing." And he's like, "No worries. I went to urgent care. They fixed it." It's like,
yeah.
what the fuck happened?
Yeah, like, and also, okay, Pete doesn't fit this mix.
At
Like,
all.
he is a clean dude. Like, probably wears he unironically wears like the Cosby sweaters. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I like this pattern. Like he's that type of guy. And he's sort of like when they say like on TikTok and stuff like that, like, oh, my boyfriend or my husband's a Labrador. Yeah, that's Pete. Pete's a
Yeah.
Labrador. And he
Yes.
just but you all there's a hint of sadness in him. Like that he just wants he's a cool he's a nice guy and he just wants to be accepted and
Yeah.
people just be shitting on him. And so
Yeah.
when Carmi's like, "Hey, well, yeah, I just want to say sorry, for that thing," and yeah, he's like, It's cool, it's cool. It healed up. I went to urgent care." Like, but he also uncomfortably does not want to have the conversation because it's gonna turn into an argument,
Yeah.
or not an argument, but it's gonna get tense. And Pete don't want tension. He just
Exactly.
he's
He knows his family because you'll find out eventually he's been in this family for far longer than what you think.
Yeah, yeah. Like he's not
And
new to
so
this. He's been
yeah,
around.
Pete is not new to this. He is true to this.
Yes.
And he immediately gets up, takes his wife the phone.
Uh,
And so Natalie and Carmen start having this conversation, this little back and forth. She's mad at her brother because her brother has come back home to take over this restaurant that she never really appreciated to begin with, but has not been kicking it with her or their family.
yeah.
He's been at the restaurant, he's been at home. She's like, bruh, my brother died, just like your brother died. Why are we not kicking it with each other? This is like, oh shit. Yeah, your anger is justified, sugar. I didn't. That's real as shit.
Yeah.
But they chop it up, right? And she's basically trying to explain to Carmi that her and Pete have been attending Al-Anon meetings, trying to help, get through the loss of their brother.
Yeah.
And Carmi's response is, "Of course, Pete would go." And she's like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
And
This
then
part had me dying because Pete's
Pete from the other
response.
room was like, "You want me to shut the fuck up?" And he's like, "No, honey, you didn't say anything."
Yeah.
All right, copy that.
Yeah. The way he just says it is so like, "Hey, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble." Yeah. Guess what she said? He said, you want me to shut the fuck up?" And she goes, "No, sweetie, you didn't say anything. Like, why would you be shutting the fuck up when you didn't talk?" You
Bro, I'm
know?
just trying to, like I said, I don't want no trouble. That's all Pete is. Pete one of them kind of people. Bro, I
Yeah.
don't want no trouble, man. No,
Yeah.
no.
He was like, "Hey, I don't, maybe you're mad at me because I gave you the phone. I don't know."
Facts, facts. I didn't even consider that part. He's worried she's angry with him
You know
because
what?
she
Hey,
put him on the phone with her brother who she'd been avoiding.
Pete takes it back to like the old 90s times. My name's Kit and I ain't it. You know?
Whereas my neck of the woods, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it.
Right. No, there's multiples. So I'm just saying. We might
Bruh,
have to start digging those up. But
hey.
that's Pete in a nutshell. He's just like, "I'm not trying to have conflict." Just
But again, here we start learning. Carmi has been having a tough time in general since he's been back home.
yeah.
Almost burnt up his apartment cooking food the other night. Turns out his entire time in New York working for that, that ball buster is was tough on him. He was throwing up before he went to work.
Yeah.
He was having trouble breathing. He just was like everything was bad about it, but he loves.
Yeah. He's all, "But I love it." She's all, "Why would you love that? Like,
He goes, no, I
why?"
don't love. I don't fuck with throwing up. No, but I love being a restaurateur and I love serving people,
Yeah.
which is so dope. And then she's like, "Well, look, man, if you are going to try to take care of people and be a restaurateur, you got to take care of you, man. Go to the meeting, man. I'm telling you right now, it's better than you think it
Yeah.
is. Me and my man's been going to it, and we feel we can see the difference it's making in our lives. And you need something like that in your life."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's word up. And I don't know if Sugar is the youngest or it's Carmi the baby because I think they said
No,
Carmi's the baby.
Carmi's the baby.
Yeah, so Sugar's the middle child, but the
I
only
believe
girl.
so.
So
Yeah.
that's where her little, that's where she gets just a little special, you know.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to like take care of her brother, and of course he don't want to accept it, but at the same time, them talking to each other helps.
Yeah.
And
And you get a little glimpse too that like cooking's their thing.
yes,
She was making a little
when
she was making a little chicken in there, and I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"That shit looks mighty delicious."
yeah. He calls her and she's in the kitchen cooking up some
It's
stuff
like a
herself,
little
and it's
like
like,
a
"What are
chicken
you making?"
piccata type of thing.
Mom's chicken.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and he immediately turns and because of course he's inspired because the chef, so he's constantly inspired.
Uh-huh.
He immediately writes down it was lemon chicken piccata, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And he writes that down on his little desk calendar, and it's going down. You know what I'm saying? It's like okay,
Uh-huh.
again, just a little quick little like okay,
Yeah. So it's like
that's
this is the thing. This is not just you're a good chef and your brother had a restaurant and now your sister
yeah.
does whatever. I don't know if she says what she does yet,
She
but
never does.
but it's like, oh no, this is inherent. Like you
Yeah.
guys are actually really good because, like I said, that meal was like you could smell it through the TV. Where I was like, yeah, well, I want a little piece of that chicken right now. Just get a little corner. Cut the end. Cut the end. So now they have their conversation. Yeah, he shares, and this is where you see like Carmi does talk a little because he doesn't talk a lot.
Yeah.
He usually just yelling restaurant shit. But like
Yes.
he has a moment where he starts talking about like, okay, hey, here's what I'm feeling. Like,
Yeah.
I was going through some, I needed you think I need help now? I needed help then too.
Yes.
But he was away. And so it's almost like I wonder if this is also when I think Richie said something at one point that was like, well, we didn't let Carmi be in the restaurant. Like
Yeah.
they always babied him and pushed him away.
Yep.
And by doing that, they didn't let him grow and become his own person.
Yeah.
And so maybe he would have worked in the restaurant and that would have been his place. But instead, it was like, no, you're going to go do something different. You're going to
Yes.
be different. And so, how do you communicate with people who never communicated with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's hard.
Who didn't communicate with you in the manner that you actually probably needed at that point in
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
They communicate you in their own way, but you needed
yeah,
more, and they didn't have it to give at that point in time.
yeah,
They
yeah.
just didn't have it to give.
Because it was that sort of like, we're just doing this for your best interest.
Yes.
So from it's because everything's always perspective, and it's like for me, I think I'm helping you because I'm just doing the thing for you or taking you in the direction. But
Yeah.
the reality is you didn't need that. You just needed someone to like sit with you on the sofa and have a conversation. And it's like,
Exactly.
you didn't want me to do the work. You just wanted me to sit here, you know?
So after that conversation, we bounced back to the restaurant,
Uh-huh.
and we kind of noticed the restaurant is kind of humming.
Yeah.
Sydney's shouting out orders, and Ibrahim is yes chef. All right, yes chef. He's saying he's on it. It's kind of okay. Well, I see we got a groove going. But then eventually we have a missing Ibrahim. It might, and this might happen earlier in the restaurant. Now I think about it, we have a missing Ibrahim and a missing Tina, and Tina's outside. And I wrote this down. Of course, saying the memorable lines is like, "I'm telling you, you beware of bitches with little notebooks."
Yes.
Sydney walked in here a couple of days ago, and now she running shit like that, all fucking wittily and scribbling.
Yes.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good. They give these actors such good writing to just take a
Yeah.
chunk out of. All willowly and scribbling. I don't even know what the fuck willowy means.
Yeah.
Is she slim? What?
Yeah. What is it? Well, and then you also have in that time too, you have FAC and someone else having another like so they're
It's facts
all
and sweeps. Yeah, yeah. Are
yeah,
in there
they're
talking.
having their conversations too. And so it's like it's you can feel it in the air.
Yeah,
Now, whereas episode one was just fighting the puzzle pieces together,
yeah,
now they're starting to fit, but when you're starting to see the picture, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, this is I thought it was a different picture.
yeah,
This is the other one. So shit's
yeah.
gonna change. And this one over here, Sydney, she's the center piece.
Correct.
She's the key piece here. Yeah, shit's gonna change. And
It like Charles said earlier. It's really not that it just could be City Show. It kind of is City Show.
yeah. Hmm.
She's the fulcrum for this entire thing. Everything balances and works off of her going forward.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, I can see where we're going here. But it's dope to see the restaurant kind of like, okay, we singing a little bit here, which
Yeah.
means it can happen. It can run as well as Carmi wants. It's gonna take some
Yeah.
steps. It's gonna take some work.
Now we see Richie he's calmer. He's putting in the work.
Fixing up the wall,
He's doing his
caulking
thing.
up the wall. Yeah,
Yeah. And so he's out by the lockers, and then he happens to look down and he sees that there's a letter.
yeah.
He picks up the letter, realizes that it's from
From Michael to Carmi.
to Carmi. And so what's your interpretation of this series of events that happens?
So of course I know, but immediately I know that Richie probably like this got to be a suicide note. It has to be.
Mhm.
And he immediately goes, "We go set it on Carmi's desk, and we'll keep it moving." So he does. He goes and sits on Carmi's desk, and that's that. Carmi will find it. He'll read it. There you go. But no, Richie walks back in there, grabs the letter, and puts it right back where he found it, hiding behind the lockers. Now, one, I think it's hiding behind the lockers with intentionality. I think it's there because Michael knew his brother was the type of person who would be cleaning behind them lockers at some point. You've watched him throughout this entire episode
Yeah.
scrubbing down this restaurant with a singular toothbrush, down on the floor on his hands and knees, scrubbing the floors all around the cooktops and so forth. This man does this, and I think his brother was fully aware that his that's the type of brother he has, and so eventually he would just in his natural, I gotta clean this place,
Hmm.
would find that letter. But Richie found it first and then put it right back where he found it at, which is sad. It's
Yeah.
very sad.
Now, my in similar, but then in some other like different directions, like so Richie finds this letter, yeah, and he takes it over. And like the first time I saw this scene, like the first time, I was bothered by the placement of the letter. I was like, no motherfucker see this? Like you walk by it every day. But then I also had the realization that like sometimes we can walk past something and just completely ignore it or just think, oh, that's that paper. I don't know what that fucking paper is. And you just keep walking. And you never notice that, like, oh, that's actually a letter or an envelope. Like I do it in my own office where there's some stuff that I'm like, this stack has been sitting here for a while. And then it's like, oh shit, yeah, this is an important document. So I kind of got that. And then in terms of like Richie picking it up, putting it on Carmi's desk, and then putting it back, it solidifies that that uh that the brother's dead. You know, like if he reads this letter, he just because when he said like, oh, he shot himself in the head, to me said like, you haven't come to terms with the fact that like this man's gone.
Yeah,
Like,
you've just served that up as the facts
yeah.
of the
Mhm.
situation,
That's
but
just I'm
not
saying. Well, he's
the
on
facts.
vacation till
Yeah,
Sunday. Like
yeah,
it's literal. It's you haven't processed it, you haven't cried it out.
yeah,
You know, we just talked about him having to flip gears to, be there for his daughter's needs. And so it's like, hey, like I think for him it's just a matter of like it's if it's in the envelope, it's still a mystery.
yeah,
And could be a suicide note, could be an old Christmas card. I don't know what the fuck this is. All I know is as the longer it stays in there, the longer I don't have to know what's in there,
yeah,
and then I don't have to deal with this loss.
yeah,
Because sometimes people's grieving process really puts them in a place where it's like there's a thing that will mark that it's done,
yeah,
where it's like, you know what, I finally washed their bedding for the last time and we'll leave a bedroom done. And it's
yeah,
just like, and now that person has passed. Like, and it could just be arbitrary things like that. And I think in this situation, it's like if he gives him that letter, I think there is a little spite in there too, like, fuck you, Carmi, you know? But I think it's also like, this man can't be dead. Like
yeah,
in my mind, I can't deal with it right now. I'm gonna put it back like I never saw it. I fucking fixed the hole. We're good. Like,
yeah,
be done. And
yeah,
so it's just like, damn, that was really like really amazing. And then to see your notes in here, then we realize that that's he goes outside, Carmi goes outside, Richie's outside of him and smoke, and then that's when Carmi realizes he didn't have his cigarettes on him.
These two men who had just been earlier in this episode, literally coming to blows.
These last two episodes.
Just
Two.
had just they come outside. He's like, "Hey man, how's it going? I'm all right, man. All right, I'm about to burn one. I ain't had one all day." So pops him with the towel on his way back in. It's
Mhm.
all good because that's their relationship.
Yeah.
They always probably doing. They always fighting like this.
Yeah.
Motherfucking cats and dogs at all times. It's their relationship. So
Yes.
don't think that this is weird. Don't think, oh shit, these people beefing. Nah, they grew up together.
Yeah.
That's family,
Yeah.
and
This
they
is
fight
way
like that
different.
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because in the end, like the moments we saw Richie have to turn and be there for his people, this is also another one where he's just like, yeah, I'm fucking tired, man. Yeah, me too. Like, he could have easily gone out and been like, listen, I'm having a smoke right now. Leave me the fuck alone. Go smoke on the other side. But it wasn't like that. It's just like,
Yeah,
what a day. Yeah, man, what a day. Like it
yeah,
that's all it was.
yeah.
And
He
they
asked
just
he asked if they're gonna come back out to inspect. He's like, yeah, yeah, we got to come back out. And he's like, and they both know why. It's because
uh,
Cicero, it's their Uncle Jimmy, got connects, and that woman told them she couldn't be back out in
in
30
30
days.
days. Yeah.
Nah, turns out she gonna be back here tomorrow or the day after just to make
Yeah.
sure business is we good. So that C ain't gonna be in this window much longer.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's some real gangster shit
Yeah.
right there,
Well, I
man.
mean, as we kind of go through the seasons, we're going to really learn a lot about all of these characters.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
they're so well developed. And even someone like Jimmy, who's not in every episode,
yeah.
like you see the moves, you see the things happening.
Oh,
Like,
we did glance right over that unintentionally. At one point, Carmi's hanging that C in the window they just got. He looks up and
yes.
sees
Oh,
his
and
Uncle
that's
Jimmy in the
huge.
window,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Fuck!" And then he's like chopping it up with his Uncle Jimmy, and his Uncle Jimmy's like, he goes, "Why did you tell me all this shit?" He goes, "He asked me how I was." I asked you where you been because
Yeah.
basically he was like, "Where the." Basically, nobody knows that Carmi's back home basically because he just basically snuck back home and just started working in the
Yeah,
restaurant.
just straight to it.
Yeah, yeah. And so his uncle's like, "Bruh, this place is fucked up. You can't fix this because you can't fix something that starts from fucked.
Yeah.
Just sell it to me and let me take it off your hands." And he's like, "No, I'm not gonna sell it to you. You just told me restaurants is bullshit." He goes, "I don't gotta keep this place a restaurant."
Yeah.
And he's like, and then he basically explains to Carmine, like, "Yo, your brother borrowed substantial amounts of dough off me, son.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
now
sorry,
you owe me.
you owe me that." And he's like, "All right, well, how much, Uncle Jimmy?" 300 racks, y'all. 300 grand. And
Yeah.
Carmi like, "The fuck? Why
Yeah,
don't
he's
you
like,
give him this
what
money?"
do you say? We only have like enough money to stay open 2 more weeks.
Yeah, basically he said, "I can't get enough of a parachute to keep us open because I'm paying for lights and I'm paying for everything, meat and shit and so forth."
Yeah.
He's trying to explain to his uncle this. His uncle was like, "Yeah, you know what you also got to pay? This 300 racks your brother borrowed off me."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Get the fuck out." He goes, "Why did you give him this money?" He goes, "Because I loved him too."
Yeah.
Because that's always everybody's answer as you watch the show. Everyone loved Michael
Yeah.
and basically would do anything for him, and including giving money to a person they knew
Yeah.
was never going to be good for it.
Yeah. You know you're not getting this money back. Like
Yeah,
it's just more like I'm just giving you this money so you could be like alive another day. It's
yeah,
really what it comes down to. But that was such a blow when he was just like, "Oh, he owes me a lot of money. So now
yeah.
you owe me a lot of money." And it's like,
Which is also a
fuck.
thing that, like, so in that first episode, Richie's mad at Carmi, like, "We only had money problems for 4 weeks. The 4 weeks you've been here, or whatever. No, you've had money problems this whole time.
Yeah.
Mike just didn't share that with you.
Yeah. You
He
just
been
didn't
borrow
know.
Yeah, he been borrowing money from his uncle to keep this place afloat, and
Yeah.
you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I
Uncle
think
Jimmy.
that's a good place to kind of wrap up our recap of episode 1 of 2, season 1 of The Bear. Really
Yeah,
hope you guys listened and enjoyed, and we'll come back very soon with a recap of episode 3 and
three and
4.
four. There you go. Oh, we don't have a way to close this one out yet, so we'll just go with roar. He's a bear. You get the.
Damn, I want to. God, that's terrible. Now I need that soundbite though. I really just wanted us to end with, "No, sweetie, you didn't say anything."
You
Fine.
want me to fuck off? No, sweetie. You didn't say anything.
All right. Well, thank you, listeners, and we'll see you very soon.
What happened to your ass? It used to be beautiful.